Can you hear the echo of
Nope,
you?
I don't hear no echo. We're
Okay,
live.
perfect.
We are live.
Well, I'll just disconnect this so that maybe it's even better.
Yeah, that's better.
All right.
So anyhow, as I was saying, uh, so the last week we were cursed.
Yeah.
The streaming gods didn't like us. The electronic gods didn't like us. We tried to do a show on Tuesday. Then we tried to do a show on Wednesday. Then I get this panic email at like 30 minutes before showtime saying, well, what did it say? What happened, man?
No. So I basically there was like the lights went out. There was a lightning strike and nothing. It went out, and I said, "Oh, let me take a siesta. I'll turn it on later because it was due for a reboot anyhow." So I went, and when I come back, I pressed the button, and it went. It tried to turn on, and went, and I was like, "What? What?" And then I remembered that it had, the lights had gone out, and I said, "Oh, this is not good." And try as I may, the computer wouldn't turn on. Yeah, not good.
So your computer fried.
Completely fried. And the problem is that that's the only way I can get onto the internet. Now, it's funny because I do have a laptop, but
Mhm.
it's from like 2005.
Yeah.
So I can get on the internet, but I can't webcam. I can't do anything other than just get on the internet. So I had to figure out how to let you know that I had that issue. And as I'm looking around and stuff, I said, you know what? Let me go to Walmart and get myself a computer, some sort of laptop or something, just a simple,
Mhm.
low cost. So I texted you, or actually I emailed you.
Right.
I don't have Facebook on my phone,
Yeah.
and I hoped that you would see the email, which luckily you did.
Yeah, because normally this time of the evening, I don't really check my emails. If I hear it going off, because I get that notification ding, if I hear it going off a lot, I'll go check and see what's going on. But usually about this time of night, it's, you know, I've got my website is backing up and things like that. So I normally don't even bother to check until just before I go to bed. But
Yeah,
I
I
just
mean, I drove to Wally World and um, nothing. I went to the computer section, and the lady there was the most unhelpful, assistant that you could possibly. Number one, I looked at the computers and I said, "Okay, look, I want to look at this one," and she says, "Oh, well, we don't have the keys to get into the bottom where all the computers are at, like the ones that you buy. We don't have the key." I said, "What do you mean you don't have the key?" "Oh, it's broken. Where that one's at, it's broken." I said, "How about the other ones?" And she says, "Well, we don't have the other ones." I said,
oh,
"What?" She says, "The ones that we have are." She waved her hand. She said, "The other ones that we have are like $500 and up," like saying you can't pay for that. She said the other ones are 500 and up, like
mhm.
that, and I'm like, lady, are you serious? And she says, you can't get to the. She says, no, I mean, we can't. And says, do you have somebody that has the control the manager? There's yeah, there's managers up front. I'm like, what the hell? So I went up front and talked to a manager. I ended up walking out with a Chromebook.
Mhm.
Um, and by the time I got home, I opened it up, not even knowing a Chromebook really the difference of it.
Mhm.
And what ends up happening is that you need your internet key password to get into the Chromebook. It'll just say add your Wi-Fi password, like when you turn it on. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh, holy smokes! All that information's in the computer that turned off. So I couldn't even get into the computer I bought because it just simply won't even turn on. And I couldn't, and I had all the information locked away in the computer that went out. And then that's when, I called you
Mhm.
and we worked on it for a while and nothing. It turns out that 3 hours after I talked to you and talking to my internet provider, because of the router and how to get into the back door and this and that. They couldn't help me, and I sat and thought a little bit and worked my way into the back door on my own, and found the darn code and was able to turn the stupid thing on. At which point it turned on, and it's the computer that I'm using right now. Um, and it's very basic. Like there's the basics, and that's it with this computer.
Yeah. Yeah, Chromebook doesn't really have much of an operating system at all, does it? You can just go online and that's about it, right?
It's got an operating system, but it's kind of like it's pretty cool in a certain way if you think of internet activity, and it's got, as opposed to programs, you have apps. So it's
Right.
kind of like a phone, laptop style. It's
Hmm.
a hybrid. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's all Google.
Hmm.
So it does have some cool. It's. I mean, I've been using it for the past week.
Hmm.
So, but it doesn't have a lot of power to do the things that I normally do. So, I've
Right.
been limited significantly.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can't like put Photoshop or anything like that on it. It's all got to be an app downloaded from the Chrome,
No,
from the
I
Play
think you can
Store.
install. I'm not sure. I think you can install certain things. I'm not sure. I think
Okay.
I think you can, but don't quote me on that. I haven't even tried.
Yeah.
But I did take my computer into the shop,
Mhm.
and he, sussed out that the battery, the what do you call it? The
Power
power,
supply.
that was blown, and so was the motherboard.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah. So he said he could fix it for X amount of dollars, and I said, okay, um, I have no choice. Let's do it. And so he tomorrow supposedly will be the day that it's ready to pick up.
But the hard drive was good and all your information is okay.
I asked him about the hardware. He says everything's fine. It's just your
Okay, good.
motherboard and your power supply. So
Okay. Well, it could have been a heck of a lot worse.
could have
Could
been
have.
worse.
Yep.
Yeah. And I didn't have a surge protector, so that's something I'm gonna have to purchase.
Yep.
I did not have a surge protector, and yeah, and when I went to drive to get the laptop,
Mhm.
not knowing what I was gonna buy and this and that, as I drove, I did see the Florida Power and Light people working like 5 blocks down, and I said, "Oh,
Uh,
that's the transformer or whatever that overcharged or charged back or whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
fed back power or whatever."
Well, it's just one of those things. We had something similar happen, not a lightning strike, but I can tell you if you get a surge protector, look for some surge protectors just don't react fast enough. I mean, they've got to sense the surge before enough voltage gets into the system that
Yeah,
it fries it anyway. You know, um, I used to have. I don't have it now. I need to go ahead and get another one. I used to have a battery backup on my computer, and you plug the computer into the APC, and it was a surge protector as well. It basically ran off the battery, and you plug it into the wall, that kept the battery charged.
right.
And the battery died in it. I unplugged it, was going to get a new battery for it, and just never did. Then we moved, and it kind of went by the wayside. I'm on a surge protector now, but I never went and replaced the battery backup. But that was a good buffer.
Yeah,
Um, you plugged the cable internet, the coax cable internet into it, and it protected that as well.
right.
So it didn't fry the cable modem in the phone, in the computer.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've had no internet. So the first time I got on with internet was actually around 2004, 2005.
Uh,
Before that, my dad had been doing that forever,
mm,
and a bunch of my friends, and I just wasn't really into it throughout the 90s and early 2000s, I would basically just do what people did before the internet, which was listen to music the way people listen to music and this and that. But one day I decided to buy a computer, because I had heard about a program called Pro Tools, which was a recording solution for music, and I had been using digital, which they called ADAT tapes, which was
Mhm.
the VHS tapes that you'd put into a machine called an ADAT,
Mhm.
and you could daisy chain them, so you could have 8 tracks in one box and 8 tracks in another to make 16, and so on. And then you'd record through a board, and you'd have outboard gear to record your effects through your guitars and instruments and all that. And I had this whole setup which I'd spent some serious cash on, but then I heard about this digital recording system, which is called Pro Tools. And I said, you know what? Let me go investigate that. And I bought it all just to have Pro Tools. And my journey began through there. And then I figured, well, let's install some internet so we can do internet. And then the internet. And then I said, well, holy. And it was just right at the beginning of YouTube. And I was like, holy smokes, you can watch videos too. I'm going to open up a channel. And I
Yeah.
opened up like the music channel and stuff. So it all snowballed from there. And between that and frickin' like dinosaur eggs with wings on them and frickin' dragons that fly through the universe and all the good stuff, it just became a standard. Not only the banking and all your whatnots that one would do manually, I little by little started to like say, well, why do I have to get up out of my? Why don't I just do it here on the computer?
Uh-huh.
And you little by little, um, the convenience of it became
Yep.
what it is now.
Yeah. And that kind of led me to the topic that I had thrown at you of just how much we rely on technology and what happens to us when that technology goes away.
Not good.
Because, it's the same thing with you. I mean, I was introduced to the PC. I've been playing with computers since the 80s, but we're talking, Commodores and then Apple and Amiga and things like that. I mean, I had an old Apple IIe and what have you, and I thought I was high speed, low drag until something new and shiny caught my eye, and I wanted that. But I didn't get on the internet until was 1998 when we moved back from Hawaii. We got to Nevada, and we got in a place where we were going to be for a while. I said, okay, let's go ahead and get internet access. And that was dial-up days. And I thought I was Mr. Cool because I had a 19.2K modem, 19.2. And I thought I was Mr. Big because my buddy uh, back east, Ed Still, hi Ed, he had a 14.4 modem and he thought he was cool. And you know, it was dial up telephone line. I mean, America Online had just recently gone unlimited access for 19.95 a month. So I signed up and, got a second phone line to dedicate to the modem so we could talk on the telephone as well as be online. And it just went crazy from there. But you're right. It was an incremental thing because at first you didn't do anything online other than watch stuff. You would download music or you would, look at pictures or chat or do whatever. But YouTube wasn't around. And when YouTube did come along, the even the 56K modems were so slow, it would take forever to watch a video. So videos were super, super short, just little, about a minute long. It's three guys, waving at each other, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean it's the equivalent of the telegraph.
Mhm.
From the telegraph, what we've experienced is the equivalent from in our lifetime in this new era. And maybe this is a crappy comparison, but screw it. I'm just going to go ahead and say it's the equivalent of us starting in the mid 1800s and the telegraph being initiated throughout the country and the world, whatever,
Yeah.
and then moving into the telephone age where it's no longer little signals that people write jot down, and then moving into like the radio times and then TV times all
Oh, yeah.
together
Yeah.
in a short span of maybe 10 to 20 years.
Well,
We've gone from way beyond expectations.
well, in my lifetime, just in my lifetime since 1961, we've gone from you had when you went to get a phone, you went down to the phone company, you signed up, and they asked you, you had two choices. You could have a wall mounted phone or you could have a desktop mounted phone. And you gave them your choice. They made the appointment, everything. They came out and they installed it. It was black. That was it. You had no other choices. And rotary dial. Then suddenly they came out with they called them the slimline phone. It wasn't the big, you had the big round
Yeah,
earpiece and then the round mouthpiece.
yeah,
You had the one piece that was kind of curved.
yeah. I
And they
remember.
had 3 or 4 or 5 colors. And you could have the wall mount or you could have the tabletop.
I had both. We had both. We had when I was growing up. We had the original one that you'd sit it on the
Uh-huh.
rotary and pick
Yep.
it up. We had that one, and mine was a cream, or not
Uh-huh.
mine. My parents was like a cream color.
Yep. Yep.
Cream.
And there was one phone company. That was it. And then the touch tone came out. And people thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And then all of a sudden they opened what I remember them opening what they called the phone center store. And this was in the late 70s, early 80s, where you could go down to, and it was still the phone company, but they had stores where you could buy other phones. And they had a 4-prong plug on them. And now when the phone installation guy came out, he put in that plug and then you went and got your own phone. Now you could get the standard basic model or the slimline touch tone, or you could go down to the phone center store and you can buy some other type of phone. I remember they had one that was Mickey Mouse who had his hand out and the receiver was in his hand.
Yep.
And when you picked up the receiver, his arm lifted up,
Yeah.
And some of those things were outrageously priced, man. I don't know what they're worth now. Probably jack diddly squat. But so just phone technology, we went from about 16-inch black and white TV tubes that were about 2 feet thick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then color. Then all of a sudden the screen got bigger. And I think they topped out at like 29-inch or something like that, 27-inch, somewhere in that neighborhood. And expensive. You'd pay a month's salary to get a TV set. And I'm talking about a just a basic TV set, black and white console TV that sat on the floor, looked like a piece of furniture. And then color came along and the prices went down. I was 16 years old before my parents bought their first color TV. That was 1977. And it was still about 2 to 3 weeks' wages. They were expensive as heck. We went from that to what we've got now to where you can't give away a TV. I mean, we decided, yeah, we need a little bit bigger TV in the living room. And my wife and I were going to go TV shopping. And I said, yeah, we got about a $250 budget. Let's see how much we can get. Well, heck, you can get a 50-inch TV for $250. I mean, it's crazy.
People forget, or I'm remembering, and I'm just adding people to the mix, but I'm sure eventually people will not remember the ritualistic thing about TVs in that era, which was that you had a set time
Hmm.
and for a show,
Yep.
and if people agreed to it that they just had to see that show, they would gather around the TV.
Hmm.
And it was almost like it didn't even need to be, if one person knew the show was coming on and they'd go to the TV and turn it on, and you're out and about and you walk in and then the show's starting, you would join the grouping in the living room or in the bedroom, wherever the heck, and you'd sit down and watch that show, and it was a communal experience. And when the show was over, you'd have your stragglers that would still watch the next whatever show is coming on, and others would retire to do whatever they were doing before. And so it was, you had to be there to catch it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you missed it, you just missed it. Maybe you'll catch it in reruns later on, but maybe you wouldn't, you know?
Exactly, which was a
And
nice thing. It was a nice thing.
mhm,
Limitations like that
yeah,
made for other. It it's a funny thing. It's a funny thing, but we have right now. I don't know that I would appreciate it in the same fashion anymore, because now the on demand,
yeah,
whatever I want, if I want to look for medieval frickin' crusader activities in the Middle East, whatever, or botany,
mhm,
of South American Brazilian jungles, whatever the heck, it's
yeah,
automatic.
yeah.
It's automatic.
I,
And I don't know that you can compete with that.
no, there. How do you compete with that? Because if you have something you want to present to somebody, you have to try to convince them that they need to watch your presentation and hope that they'll gather the family and sit around the TV and watch it. And people just don't want to do that anymore. They don't even want to wait until next week for the next episode. They want to watch the whole season right now
That's right.
and then cry and complain and moan that the new season isn't out yet. Well, you mean we got to go for 6 months before we get the next season?
That's
Yeah,
right.
it takes a while to make, you know. But we have so the entertainment aspect of being online, I think we've pretty much talked about most of that, but and we've based a podcast on it for 2 years just about. But
We're still in. I'm not going to even include you, although, but I personally am still in awe
yeah, me too.
of,
I
of,
mean,
of the technology that we're using.
oh yeah.
I'm not going
When
to sit here and lie. I'm in
well,
awe.
that's because we remember it as it was coming out, as it was coming along. And that's where I was going when I first started this line, was that when I first got online, you wouldn't even have thought about using your credit card online. Are you kidding me? Somebody will get that number.
Hmm.
They'll be able to intercept that number with just by you sending it out. They'll be able to intercept that number and use your credit card. People would not, I mean, people were paranoid, and I was one of them. People were paranoid about using a credit card or a debit card online, and for good reason, because it wasn't a secure system. There, it wasn't there. The websites weren't secure back then. We're talking about the late '90s, and then as security got better and better and better, people started getting more and more comfortable with doing that, and then more and more of our lives were taken over online. You're talking about online banking. You wouldn't have dreamed of doing that 10, 15 years ago because it wasn't secure enough. Now it's fairly secure. If you've got a good firewall and good antivirus software, you can pretty much do what you want online and be reasonably secure in knowing that nobody else is going to get that information. But you wouldn't have dreamed of doing it 10, 15 years ago.
No.
Um, we did something this year for the first time that we had never done before. And we knew it was a thing. We knew that people did it all the time, but we just were old school enough to where it just didn't appeal to us. Actually got on a website, ordered a pizza, and had it delivered to the house without talking to somebody, without going to the place to order it, without calling them up to say, I want to order a pizza for pickup. Just got online, ordered it, paid with the credit or with the debit card, and it showed up 35 minutes later. We didn't do that until 2020. And people have been doing it for how many years? It's just not something I was ever interested in or thought about.
Yeah.
So, but when you start banking online and paying your bills online, my everybody, all my monthly utilities, car insurance, all that stuff keeps saying, sign up for wireless or for paperless billing. No, I refuse to do it. Because if this box sitting over here next to me suddenly decides to release the magic smoke, I have the bill. I can write the check. You're going to send me a receipt or give me a receipt when I go down and drop off the payment. I don't want paperless. I want to know how much I owe. And when the water bill comes, I know how much I owe. I can go pay it. You know? So
Yeah.
I'm still old school like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, but we've moved along so far
Mm-hmm.
to the point where we're at. I mean, and again, there's no going back. It's just a matter of convenience. And even though you have people like yourselves and many that will hold on to that, I think that eventually that it's all gonna go away because convenience, convenience, convenience. It's just
Yeah.
I mean, the trade off is that even socially, like you know, we're interacting 3,000 miles apart roughly,
Yeah.
and we talk in a fairly
Mm-hmm.
regular basis. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's I can confidently say,
Yeah.
um, and we're in the comfort of our home. It's not like we're making a house call. Hey, Mark, and sitting on the couch. Now, how weird would it be? Okay, if we lived in the same vicinity, like a house or two away and stuff. How would that work? How would we have done that before? Come knocking at your door. Hey, Mark, what you up to? Oh, no, nothing much. And you're working on something, or we sit on the couch and stuff, and we're shooting the breeze. It's a whole social thing that we don't even do. Right now, we're interacting
Mm-hmm.
quite comfortably, sharing our thoughts, this, and that. If I got to go to the John, hey, man, I'll be right back. I got to go to the John, and I'm going to my own John. So there's a distant, it's a weird, I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, because
I do know where you're going with this. And what I find incredibly funny is that we will sit here and have this discussion back and forth with one another and then talk trash about kids and their video games and they don't go outside. And we're not going outside. We're not going over to a friend's house. We're not sitting around listening to an album or watching a movie together or nothing like that. We're sitting in our own homes.
So here's the thing. What sounds better to you? Going over to see, old Jim, let's say, not Jim Dockrell, but just a Jim, let's say, and sitting there at Jim's house. You can do that once, twice,
Mm-hmm.
but or you could talk to Jim online,
Right.
and you can get snacks from your own refrigerator, munching away. And when Jim's gone out of his rocker and he's just talking some serious trash, you can say, Jim, I've had enough of you. Good night. I gotta go. And how beautiful is that?
It again, convenience, and see, I have the luxury of being married, so occasionally my wife will come in and say, hey, I need your help, can you help me do this? And I can just, oh shoo, thank you, I didn't want to be a part of that discussion anyway, gotta go help Linda, thanks y'all, talk to you later, bye, have a good one, good night, click, gone. It's like Saved by the Bell. So
I mean, so we are kind of like what you're saying, how we complain about, kids today, they don't get out much and do the skateboarding and the this and that, but
Yeah.
we're doing the same thing. So if we had a choice when we were kids, I don't know about you, and I couldn't talk about the past in that I don't know what I'd do if I had this type of technology,
I
but
do.
I would strongly suggest that I'd be indoors all the time.
You and me both. I would be just like my grandkids. I would be just like them. I would be sitting there with a headset just like this, playing video games right along with them. You know we would.
Yeah,
Because we played the games that we had at the time. We played with the technology we had. Now, my growing up, it was the Atari 2600, and that was the state of the art back then, and they were expensive. And my parents never bought one. I didn't get one until I was 19 and married.
dude, I had one when I was a little kid. Dude, my dad. I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to say that I was picking boogers from. I was that young, and my dad brought home the freaking Atari 2600.
Mhm.
And dude, that was a life changer for me, dude.
Yeah, it was for me too. And we played. I played a heck of a game of Missile Command. I was pretty decent at Pac-Man,
Do you
and
remember Defender?
huh?
Do you remember Defender?
Oh yeah,
The side swipe type of where it's a little ship that like skids in the air and you have to and you turns around you're shooting picking up little survivors off of the
yep,
moon. What
yep.
a great those were freaking awesome,
My
dude.
game was Asteroids.
Do you
That was
remember the Popeye game?
no.
I
See,
had
I got out of the Atari thing. I went into the army, had my kids, and I don't know whatever happened to the ding dong game. I mean, I didn't hook it back up to the TV when I was stationed down at Fort Ord because I discovered the video cassette recorder, and things just I didn't have time for video games anymore. So I went ahead with the. Now we did use the video game down at Fort Ord. I take that back. Um, but when the video cassette recorder came out, and then all of a sudden, movie rentals got started. So we're looking at the early 80s, 82, 83, 84. And they were still having the beta versus VHS wars, you know. And then all of a sudden came out Laserdisc, it looked like a 12-inch LP in a box that you slid into the machine and it played the movie. And
those were all like a notch up to one controlling the moment of entertainment.
mhm,
If you think about
exactly.
it, that led us into where we're at, you know.
Exactly. And that also led us into that on demand type of a situation where we could go rent the Blues Brothers. We don't have to wait for it to come back to the theaters or go to the movies or go on TV, the
Yeah.
edited version on TV. We could go rent the Ding Dong thing and watch it when we wanted
It
to.
started giving TV a run for its money,
It
VHS
did.
and all that.
It did. It did. But the other big thing was people recording TV shows to watch when they wanted to watch them.
Yeah.
And you could fast forward through the commercials and get back to the show, you know.
I used to record, I forget now, but I know I recorded a Paul McCartney TV special sometime in the late 80s that he had come on, and Linda McCartney was still, and I remember that and recording other things as well. Just and bad, like you could, all the staggered sort of
Oh
like,
yeah, all the wavy and then the thing would start to roll a little bit and the white
yeah,
stripes across it and white dots and everything.
yeah.
Adjust your tracking, man. Oh, okay. Well, you need to clean the record head. Jeez.
Those were good things, but they all required at the end of the day, if you wanted to socialize, people would gather, and all that. But now we're quite,
Yeah.
in our own little worlds, and then we reach out through the internet. I mean, and what we have now is again, I'm still in awe of what
This
we.
is the extension of the natural extension, the progression of the chat room. Because when we first got online, that was about all you could really do was go into one of the America Online AOL chat rooms
And type away.
and just chat back and forth with each other, send each other pictures via email. You didn't dare do video because it took so long to download the ding dong thing, because you had to download it to your computer, then you could watch it.
Yeah.
There was no real time interaction. So you could go over to the ICQ chat channels. That was a little bit easier, but not by much. I remember the first time somebody sent me a picture, it was such a big picture that the estimate on it was going to take an hour to download so I could even see the picture they were going to send me. And I'm like, no, forget it. I didn't got an hour to wait around for this picture.
I wonder if there's still maybe 2 or 3 people left still sitting in those AOL chat rooms now.
Yes, there are, because there are still millions of people in the US that don't have broadband internet.
So there's people chatting away at the AOL chat room?
Yeah, not
And
nearly as many as there was 20 years ago, but there are still people using it.
There's like a little blip, one in New York, one in like Kansas, and then, oh, look, that's Joe from Kansas. Oh, look, it's Betty from... How about if you think there's still people that spend awesome amounts of time on MySpace waiting for other people to join them?
No, because MySpace was bought out by another company that turned it into a music website. It's now for bands and stuff like that, if it hasn't shut down entirely. But I know that was one of the things that I never got into MySpace. That's where I started my whole, I won't say that's where I started it, but that was another aspect of being a cultural infidel. I never used it. I signed up for it. I looked at it. A couple of people said, check out my MySpace. And I went and looked at it, and I'm like, okay, I'm not impressed. It's no big deal to me. I didn't join Facebook until, well, about 2011, something like that. So, and then the reason I got on Facebook was so I could talk with my grandkids, So everything I knew about Facebook, I learned through them.
I don't know. I think Facebook is probably the best of all the social media sites for me, because you could do conversations on a post. Mm-hmm. Plus, you can do back messaging conversations. You could do video conferencing, sending, photos and this and that. The combination of everything is I find they did it right. I think they did it right.
It's convenient for what I use social media for. It's convenient for me because you're right. You do have that as instant as you want it. If somebody sends you a PM, you can see it without clicking the little box and letting them know you've seen it.
Yeah.
So you can do as fast or as slow as you want to. But, I don't know. I like Twitter for some things. I tried Instagram. It didn't work for me. I didn't really much care for it. I'm still on it, but I haven't posted in over a year.
Same here.
It just didn't work for me.
It's a freaking drag, dude.
And there are other, I mean, everybody's running to TikTok now. Okay, great. There's always going to be something new and shiny coming along, but a lot of people just keep coming back to Facebook, YouTube, sometimes Twitter. And that's about it for me. And that's about as socially active I want to be.
I mean, Facebook is good enough, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for my taste, but like TikTok, I don't get the little short clippy clips. Not that I don't get it, but it's like there's not sufficient amount of. I mean, I know you could say the same thing about a post, but the whole setup is so limited. It's just like, I don't know.
Remember Vine? Vine was one of those social media sites where you could upload 6 seconds of video. And there are people who built careers on that 6 seconds of video. I mean, if you could rehearse a little comedy bit and do it in 6 seconds, just a quick couple of one-liners. I mean, there are people who made fortunes through Vine, just got known and got huge amounts of followers. And when Vine went away, they transferred over to other platforms. And some of them have gone into television and the movies. Some of them are still doing their thing on YouTube and have millions and millions of subscribers. So I'm all for it. If you find a platform that's good for you, if you love Twitch and you're working it and you're being successful at it, I'm your biggest cheerleader. Go for it. I think I love that kind of thing. I
It's funny
really
because
love that kind of thing.
Frankie CNC says I located my wife on MySpace. So I'm assuming what he means by located is that she was missing, and then he located her on
Yeah.
MySpace and finally figured out where she was.
I was going to ask if that meant before or after the wedding, but that's okay.
Is that where you met? I
Yeah.
wonder if that's what he means.
Well, stop and think about it, man. That's what a lot of this social media it is. It's the singles bar of the 21st century.
And you
I
never have to fricking go out and see the person, and you could
well,
start dating today.
well, you can figure out if you're even interested in this individual based on what they post.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's already something like 1 in 6 marriages in this country people met online somehow through a friend or friend of a friend or just through a group or something like that. It's
I
already
mean,
like 1 out of 6.
it's as valid as any other thing if you think
Sure.
of, and in fact it's probably more valid in that if you get to talking with people, you really get to know
Hmm.
their thoughts and their reasoning and whatever their likes and dislikes. You really get to know them because they people tend to talk.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But let me ask you this now. You've been you have been in a situation where you've met people that you only knew online, right?
You
Well, yeah, but you and I have never met face to face. What I'm getting at is you meet somebody online, you talk to them for however long, and meet them in real life, in person.
I've met a few people.
Was it uncomfortable at the first little bit?
Super. I was one day I was driving to Home Depot. I get to Home Depot. I'm in the lumber rack
Uh-huh.
area, and by the way, I needed some lumber, and I was all grubby and sweaty, and I said, "Let me go quickly to," and I had my videos out on YouTube, and I'm looking through the boards, and I hear Eloy Escagedo woodworking. Eloy, is that you? And I turned around like, and I'm sweating, and there's this guy walking towards me, and I said, "It is you. It's Escagedo Woodworking." And the guy he knew who I was from afar, the back of my head, and he knew who I was, and he came up, "Hey, dude, it's me." And I forget who the guy was now at this point.
It's
Um,
been a couple years then, huh?
he's a dude that lives here. Forgive me for not remembering. I always tell the story,
Uh-huh.
but yeah. And I was like, "Hey, man, how's it going and stuff and this and that." Yeah, yeah. And and then okay, well, I gotta go and this and that. And I actually felt, nothing to do with it, but I actually felt uncomfortable with the idea
Mhm.
that I was known,
Yeah.
that my what's the word, anonymity
Anonymity was gone. Yeah.
was gone
Yeah.
in Home Depot. I felt like a little bit like so. I was like, ooh,
Well, okay. But what I mean is some of your friends, because like Jamie Page, you met Jamie Page
yeah,
and you
yeah,
had BS'd with him online for a long, long time. Were
yeah.
you uncomfortable at all when you first met him?
No, I looked at him. I mean, for the first few, like the first couple of minutes and stuff, I looked at him and said, "Damn, that's Jamie Page right in front of me." I
Yeah.
had to fix the
Yeah.
concept of Jamie Page inside the computer,
Right.
and then
With a real person.
which
Yes.
Jamie Page. And so I was thinking, wait a second, Jamie Page is actually a human, a real
Yeah.
human being. He's not on the internet just alone. He actually exists.
I had that same thing. I had both of those happen when I went to Atlanta in 2017, and I met Jamie there. And it was right after that that they went down to your place. I didn't even know who you were at the time. Well, you
How
and I had
dare
never
you?
talked, but and I was not an insider in the maker community. I didn't know anybody. I knew a select few people, Dave Gatton and a couple of other folks. And I went back there to visit him. He let me stay at his house for the 4 days. And it was weird. I mean, I had talked to Dave Gatton. I'd been on his show every week for a year. But it was weird and kind of uncomfortable at first to be standing there talking to him, because you know how we are in hangouts. Hey man, I see you got a new pimple. Yeah, your shoes stink, that kind of thing. There
Yeah,
was none of that at all. None of that real comfortable, chummy banter for about the first 10, 15 minutes in the car when he picked me up at the airport and we're heading back to his place. It was just kind of a, well, so how you doing? And just kind of getting to know one another again. And then suddenly it was like, this is the same dude I've been yakking with on Hangouts for a year. Knock it off, Mark. So then things kind of loosened up a little bit.
it's a funny thing you say that because we do. I guess we do know, but we forget probably. At least I do, that we are also. I don't want to use the word tribal because I don't think it's the right. But we humans, when we gather and we're in the same environment,
Uh-huh.
there are rules of engagement that are not present when we're in a phone video style
Yeah.
situation. So my boldness,
Right.
when I'm perceiving you in front of me, I'm also capturing in uh maybe your mood at the time. You're also not in your comfort zone. You're
Right.
in my space. Let's say if you were here. So I'd have to approach the thing even on a subconscious level. I'm aware that you're out of your element, and so one has to sort of, so as an example, so it's weird in that respect that when we're here, all these, I guess, roadblocks
Uh-huh.
are torn to the side, and you could just lash out with whatever pleasantries or not non-pleasant, and it's the back and forth. But when you're in actual presence of someone, you take into account so many other things,
Right.
so it's almost inhibited when you're in front of people as opposed to in this sort
Yeah.
of
Until you kind of get used to, a few things, kind of get used to this person is right here. He's not 3,000 miles away through a TV screen and a bunch of cable in between.
yeah.
It's a little bit weird. And yeah, the getting recognized and things like that was kind of freaky for me, because I mean, I was fanboying all over the place. These are guys that I had been watching on YouTube for years,
Yeah.
or well, as long as they had been on.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon they're all standing right there next to you talking, trying to have a normal conversation with you. And you're going, that kind of thing. I was fanboying all over the place. I don't care who knows it.
Yeah,
It
it's
was just strange to actually be in the same room with these people, even though we had been yakking for months online in Hangouts and what have you. It was just strange to actually meet that person.
yeah.
you know did you notice if maybe their personality changed a little bit? They weren't quite the person that they normally were in a hangout. Maybe they were a little bit more reserved. Maybe they were a little uncomfortable, a little bit more respectful.
Jamie Page was still Jamie Page, but he was more respectful because he was in the well, he got comfortable pretty damn quick, but
Yeah.
for a little bit he was quite the because he's in a different, like what I mentioned before, he's in a different environment, this and that, and I come to find out later. I don't even know if he wants me to say this or not, but I come to find out later that while in America he was in fear for his life.
Why?
Well, he'd have to explain it
Mm-hmm.
better, but he's in England And then he
Mhm.
comes over. This is a different, and he grew up watching Miami Vice.
Oh. So he was waiting for the Ferraris and the shootouts and stuff like that, huh?
Right, and then he drives up to my area, and it's not like the posh sort of
Uh-huh.
Miami Vice palm trees, although we do have palm trees, but that's not the point. You know what I'm saying?
I
You don't.
do.
He didn't show up and hear that Miami Vice music playing out of nowhere in the air with women in bikinis walking around. He just saw like a neighborhood,
Mhm.
and he was like, at any moment now, at any moment now,
The drug
and so-
cartels are coming.
and I didn't know that
Uh,
until basically like last week when me and him had a little conversation about it. That he felt that way.
I'd have thought the alligators would have scared him more than Miami Vice.
He was pretty bold with the alligators. He went right up and took a picture with the alligators and all that, and then Mark
Uh-huh.
Saunders, um, well, he was just it's the same jokey as he is online,
Mhm.
but um, dude, he couldn't sit still, dude. You know how there's people that arrive at your house and
Mhm.
they just lay back and like they're chill.
Mhm.
Well, this guy arrives and he's checking times. He was on a schedule, but he was like Flash
Yeah.
Gordon, dude. But yeah, no, I don't. I had not anybody that I met online. I felt comfortable in their presence in real life,
Mhm.
um, because of the online interactions. You kind of
Yeah.
get to know people.
Okay. 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 I just wondered. It just somehow popped into my brain. Jim Dockel brings up a good point. America's reputation preceded him. Yeah. When if you've never been to certain areas, you have this preconceived notion of what it's going to be like. Like New England, everybody thinks Bob Newhart. That's what it's all about. Or the South, people are thinking about pick a sitcom, pick a TV show. And so if that's the only thing you ever see, you think that that's what real life is. And they just tend to forget that there's a thing called fiction, and that's not real life.
He
Yeah.
probably thought I was gonna open the door with like gold chains and like a white suit with like sandals.
Wow.
Hey, Jamie Page, you come in here.
I, I've heard from several people who live in several countries that they really honestly do think all Americans are rich. That Americans are just rich. We're all wealthy. That there's no struggling here. There's no poverty. There are no poor people. Americans are rich. They have all the money. And I've heard that from people in Germany. I've heard that from people in Brazil. I've heard that from people in England. I've I've heard that from folks from all over. So
That's a funny thing.
it's a surprise to visitors when they get here and they see it ain't that way. You know, everybody has a story and everybody has a struggle. Some of us struggle a lot more than others, but you know, but it's the perception when that's all you ever see. You know, if you're raised on Miami Vice, you start thinking every Miami cop does drive a Ferrari because that's all you ever see.
Yeah,
So
and you only see the exotic parts, and like open, every time you park and open the door down the sidewalk, there's like what 50 chicks with bikinis and
mhm,
freaking beer glasses clanking together and freaking
mhm.
sailboats and this and that
Oh yeah.
everywhere. It doesn't matter where you stop your car and you open the door, it's like a party everywhere and stuff. I mean, it's like, but the truth is not that. The truth is,
Well,
it's like, I mean, there are places like that.
I would imagine that I was just getting ready to say, aren't there places where you can go, like the tourist areas, where you will see that?
Well, yeah, the main places like downtown Miami, the beach, and all that, the bay, and there's other places like that. But like
Yeah.
generally speaking, people don't want that kind of. They just want to kind of go home to go to sleep and
Yeah.
maybe, you know what I'm saying. So most of Miami is kind of like screw that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Well, think of every stereotype you've ever heard or every TV show you've ever seen about Hawaii.
Yeah.
And you think of the hulas, you think of the luau, you think of frozen tropical drinks on the beach. You can go down to Waikiki and you can get all of that. You can see all of that, participate, and have an absolute blast. And it is fun. We did it. But there are other parts of it. For instance, the red Hawaiian shirt, like Magnum PI.
Hmm.
The only people wearing red Hawaiian shirts were the tourists. People were wearing Hawaiian shirts. Over there, they call them aloha shirts. People wore them, but not that red pattern because that was from a TV show and it looked cheesy. And
Right.
you could spot a tourist from a mile away. He had a sunburn and he was wearing a Magnum PI red Hawaiian shirt. You know, so there were certain things that were correct and certain things that were just yeah, no, you
That's a
know.
funny thing. See, that's one thing about Miami. Dressing,
Mhm.
you can be as bummy as you want, or as well. I guess it would depend on even on the beach. You can be as bummy as you want, or dressed to the nines. It's all acceptable. Like there's
Yeah.
categories,
Oh
from
yeah.
wino to
And
wine drinks at the bay.
if you want to dress like a Hawaiian, get you a t-shirt or tank top, loose fitting, and a pair of shorts. I don't know if you remember board shorts or a long shorts to just above the knee,
Yeah,
and a pair of flip flops. And I don't mean high priced. I'm talking about the 99 cents a pair, made out of rubber,
that
down
the
at the
little middle
thrifty drugstore.
that the little middle piece always breaks off
Yes,
after. Yeah,
and they called them rubber slippers, rubber slipper.
yeah.
That's that's how Hawaiians dress. I spent 3 years dressed that way
And
and
it's
went everywhere and blended right in. They
tough.
didn't look. I mean, you could go to just about any restaurant in a tank top or t-shirt, pair of shorts, and flip flops, and just blend right in. Nobody cared. There were certain times when you should dress up a little bit because fashion kind of dictates that you should at least wear long pants and real shoes.
Yeah,
But if I couldn't go in t-shirt, shorts, and flip flops, I didn't need to be there. You know,
that's funny.
and that would be anywhere from paying bills to eating at a restaurant to go to a luau to see a show or something like. I mean, just it didn't matter. That was the uniform. I got tanned so dark I figured out the hair on my arms is blonde.
Talking about tans, let me tell you this. YouTube is a wonderful thing because you get. So there was this lady, this video, and she's a British lady, and and I clicked on it, man. I had to see this because she says, I'm going to try out this new tanning kit. The lady pops up on the thing, hey, and she goes through the whole like what's the ingredients, and this is a tan cocoa, I don't know what, pump action, blah blah blah, uh,
Mhm.
foamy, blah blah blah, and the lady, it's this British lady, and she is so white that she's transparent.
Yep.
In fact, she said, "Look, I'm going to put my hand up against the white door, and my hand disappears." It wasn't quite that bad, but the point is there
Mhm.
that the lady had, she's just no tanning.
No pigment at all.
So she takes and she squishes the sooty foamy into her hand, and it's like this green seaweed looking sort of. And she says, "We're gonna start with our with our arms," and she starts putting it on her arms. And dude, it looks like the creature from the Black Lagoon, green on her skin. And I'm like, "Holy smokes, what the hell is going on?" She says, "Yeah, I'm starting to like this," and she was dead serious, dude. I'm starting to really like this, how it's coming on. And then she said, "Let's be bold. Let's do it on our face." And I was like, "Oh no, lady." She's put it on her face, dude. And like, she's got that very fair complexion. By the time it's all said and done, it created all her, like, I guess you'd call, I don't want to say pimples, but like little raised red
Uh-huh.
parts of her stuck out even more red, surrounded by circles of black. She looked like a hot mess, dude. And so it just got me to thinking that, boy, because that's the whole thing. There's a whole, I think the '80s started the whole tanning thing.
Tanning salons, tanning beds, they've been banned in a lot of places. That tanning salons are, they
Dangerous.
have just flat out banned. Oh yeah, the UV, skin cancer, the whole thing.
You could fry your
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
Yeah, there have been people who have damaged themselves in them thing. They get addicted. Oh, I got to stay tan. I got to stay tan. How about go outside?
Yeah, but some people need a little extra help. But still,
True, but I mean, how important is it?
it's a fact
Really?
thing. But this lady, dude, I don't know, man. But and she was liking. She's, oh, I like it very much. And like her, like little raised little red areas in her
Yeah.
face would be still red, but redder because it aggravated the whatever you want to call it. And then around the pits of it, like in the sunken,
Yeah. The
like a
pores and what have you.
like a seaweed color. And she says, oh, well, this is good. And man, it was horrible. It was so funny talking about pans and this and that.
Well, at least they've gotten over the spray tan thing. I mean, because all that did was make you look orange. You cannot spray, and they would do it, lay there in a bikini, and some dude that was like, you went to Earl Scheib, I'll paint anybody for 1995, and they had it out there with their Banks #7 spray gun, spraying these people down. It just, I'm glad people got over that. I mean, it never looked good. It never looked right. And people know you're lying. That's one thing that they do talk about over in the UK is orange girls. And they're the spray tan folks, the fake tan. The only way you can get a tan from the UK is go to Spain for your vacation, and that's about it. Spain or Italy, or maybe the Greek islands.
They
But
used to have these little packets, and I remember this. Maybe I shouldn't even say this, but I was so curious. I don't know why it was at home. I was like in my teens and this and that, and I read it and I said, "Oh, it tans," and I could, if I spend half a day, I can start getting nice and tan and stuff. If I spend a day, I can start getting a nice. Um, but I saw it and I was so intrigued, so I decided to experiment with this packet of tanning. It's like
uh,
sort of, and I was like 18, 19, and I opened it up and I was like, oh, let's see what it does. And I lathered it. I did that, dude. And my skin turned yellow, dude. And I was like, holy shit. And I was trying to wipe it off, and it stayed for a while, dude.
yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is nasty.
Yep. I still think, I mean, there's some suntan lotion, lay out in the sun, you'll get a tan. You have
There's
to work
also
on it.
oils.
Huh?
There's oils. There's like
Yeah.
oils, like cocoa, or I don't know what the oil, but there's oil in people.
Yeah. The one that I used to use was called Aussie Gold. It had a koala bear on the front of it, what have you. And I would buy SPF. I'd stay SPF 12. I stayed lily white. SPF 6. I would burn. So I would buy a 6 and a 12 and mix them together in one of those trigger spray bottles you get down at the garden center.
Yeah.
I pour a bottle of each one into that, shake it up, spritz it on me, and I was good. I was set. And I'd lay out in a towel in the backyard and work on my tan a little bit. But like I said, I got so dark that I figured out the hair on my arms was blonde, and I had white stripes on my feet for like 5 years after we left Hawaii from wearing those flip flops where they come up between the toes and then go across over the feet. I had white stripes there for 5-6 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I had that doing the airboat because you're out in the sun all day long.
Yep.
And I would wear flip because when it would rain, see, the problem about the situation is that when you're driving those boats, if you have shoes and it's raining and we have a rainy season, you're going to have soggy socks. So you end up using flip flops, which is a good thing and a bad thing. It's good because you don't get your shoes wet, but they're slippery as well, and you're climbing up and this and that. So there's a whole host of things that could go wrong. But doing that, you do get the little stripes going down the side. But
Oh yeah.
let me ask you: Is there are there beaches that you can actually enjoy in reference to what you would in like Hawaii or Miami, in Oregon, like that you
No,
can actually you
no,
can't drop a beach towel and do the whole.
no. It well during the summertime, some places you can, yes, but it's very short lived because of the Oregon coast. First off, you don't get in the water. You just don't. It's too cold. It comes down out of the Arctic. So and kind of meets the southern current just in northern Mexico, and then it goes out to sea. They just the two meet and go out to sea, and it warms up as it heads towards Hawaii. So the water temperature is in the wintertime, the water temperature down here is in the 40s, and it might get into the low 50s in the summertime. So
Oh,
you don't get in the water. It's cold, and a little chilly. But there are on a calm day, on a warm day, the Oregon coast is maybe it might get into the 70s, but it stays generally on the in the 60s and almost constant wind. So you can find some sheltered coves here and there where it's not super windy, but it's not beach the way we think of it. Um, the way we think of beach, Hawaii, Miami, well, heck, even up in Georgia and Virginia, it's not the kind of South Carolina, North Carolina, up into Virginia. It's not that kind of beach. It's extremely cold. You go there for the scenery and then you leave.
yeah, because the water here, it's like bath water.
Yeah,
You're literally stepping into a welcoming ocean.
yeah.
You know.
In fact, when we were stationed in Savannah, Georgia, we found that we brought my kids and Linda's kids out with us to spend the summer with us in Georgia. And the first time we took them to the beach out to Tybee Island, and you could see my daughters. I mean, they were all they had their arms crossed in front of them. They just knew this water was going to be cold, and they're kind of slowly making their way down to put their toes in to say they dipped their toes in the Atlantic. And here comes goofy old dad hauling, running in between them, and dove into the water head first. And I come up and, spit out salt water, and, I'm watching them, and I'm like, come on, come on, come on. And they get out there a little bit and their feet hit the water, and it's like, this is warm. I didn't know ocean water could be this warm, because it literally is. It's in the 80s
Yeah.
temperature.
Yeah.
Not so out here. And they had only experienced West Coast beaches, which is cold water. That's all.
Well, that's why I don't understand beach blanket bingo and all that. Those '60s, they were in California and they would rush out with their surfboards and jump in the water. And I've jumped in the Pacific. There's no way I could be that happy like they were in those movies.
Well, when you were getting paid like they were, you could fake it. That shows how good actors they were.
They were pretty good actors.
The water is warmer down there than it is up here. Believe me,
dude,
it does warm up on the way down, but not that much.
no, dude, it was horrible, dude. I jumped in just to say that I would jump in, and I jumped in,
Uh-huh.
and I felt that the sea drained my essence.
Yep. Yep. It's like pins and needles.
I got out of that water, and a towel was wrapped around me.
Yep.
I was like on the verge of. I thought that I was
hypothermia. Yeah. You come out of the water blue. There's a reason they wear wetsuits when they surf.
How about your head and the rest of your extremities, boy?
Well,
it's better than nothing, right?
Yeah, it's it'll keep your core body temperature up there, but there's a reason they wear wetsuits when they surf. And as Linda Lindsay says, if you notice, they didn't stay out in that water very long.
No, and they were always dry. If you think about it, when
Yep.
they'd sit on the beach, they'd come on, Gidget. They'd
Yep.
fall to the ground and stuff. They were always dry all of a sudden.
On the West Coast, you either go out to the beach to surf or you go to see other people or be seen by other people.
Clam bake.
You know what? That is nothing I have ever experienced. That's an East Coast thing.
Nope, wasn't that? No, man. All the freaking videos from the '60s, or all those movies, those teen movies from the '60s, they
Oh,
were
beach blanket bingo and,
to the hey, Daddy O, let's go to the
yeah,
clam
that
bake.
was Southern California, but I thought clam bake was back east.
Was it?
I thought that was East Coast.
Okay, I mean maybe.
I've never heard I had never heard of one until that Elvis Presley movie came out.
Well, maybe they made it up. Maybe the writers made it up, and it became like an American pastime.
Well, it may have been. I don't know, but I thought that was the East Coast thing. Yeah, it's
You
kind
know,
of like a fish fry. Linda and I were talking about something similar here. I'll get to that in just a second. It's kind of like a fish fry. I'd never heard of a fish fry until I got down south. Because we just don't do that much up here.
yeah.
Um, Lightning bugs, something as simple and stupid as lightning bugs.
Hmm.
All my entire life, I'd heard about lightning bugs and I'd seen things on TV about them and this, that, and the other. There are no lightning bugs on the West Coast. There are none. I was in my 20s and got stationed in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So we're looking at 1987. I saw my first lightning bug. So I was 26 years old before I ever saw them and understood what they actually were, because we don't have them out here. They just never made it over the Rockies.
Yeah.
And the further down south and the further east you go, the more they are, the thicker they get,
Yeah.
until you get right there on the coast. Then they're not around the coast that I saw anyway. There weren't many around Savannah.
Yeah, we don't get what we have is these little roach looking things that fly. They're not roaches, but they have like two little fluorescent eyes
Uh-huh.
on their middle part of their torso or whatever that light up, and at night it just fills the area. I don't know that they're lightning bugs necessarily.
Yeah. Well, it depends on where you are. Some places they called them lightning bugs. Some places they called them fireflies. So it just depends on where you were. But Kentucky and Tennessee and Alabama, oh, they were all over the place. And it was just like, wow, man, that's what that is? Cool.
They are awesome.
I'd never seen them before. But I was in my 20s, so never chased them around as a kid or nothing like that. So.
My biggest thing was going west, how the terrain and the actual aridness, everything became like everything here is so lush and green. Like it's just there's the water content is everywhere, and over there's some sort of like depletion. I don't know, it's a weird thing. It's
all to do with the jet stream, the way the prevailing winds. The jet stream comes down out of Alaska and comes down into the US, and where it hits as it comes down, that dictates what the weather's going to be like. And it tends to stay up north. Like right now during the summertime, the jet stream is way up north in Canada, and that's where all the weather systems go, all the rain and snow and everything else. And it's dry down here. So, but you get from the Mississippi River west, the further west you go, the more desert it gets.
Yeah.
Because we just don't get a lot of rain. Now, I'm up in the Pacific Northwest, so we get quite a bit of rain because the jet stream dips down this way. And, we get more than our fair share of rain. But, you get down into, about Redding, California. So way north, a few hours north of San Francisco. That's about the line. They get quite a bit of rain around San Francisco, and then it goes away again. Southern California is all desert. I mean, So, and then you go Nevada, Idaho, most of Oregon is desert. Looks just like Nevada. You got this one green stripe on the west side of the state where the Cascade Range runs. Everything east of that looks just like the desert around Las Vegas.
Amazing.
Yeah. So, well, I think it's about time to mention that we have a website
That's right. Har
called. Go
Media.
ahead.
Harneal Media. We have a website, and I said harnealmedia.com. We're sponsored by harnealmedia.com. That's harnealmedia.com. They make websites and stores for you. Just check them out at harnealmedia.com. Uh,
That's right. That's our buddy Steve Nealon over there. I'm going to go ahead and flog it again. If you look down on the description box of this video, you'll see right there on the top line, Makers Helping Makers. Steve had some major health issues here not too long ago. And so if you would click on that link, go over there. That's a GoFundMe to help Steve and his wife, Pam, as they struggle with some hard times right about now as the medical expenses are piling up. And if you have donated, I want to say personally, thank you very much. If you can't, and I understand some folks can't, at least do me a favor. Go over there to that GoFundMe page and share it. Share it on your social media. Get it in front of some other eyes. These people are near and dear to my heart. They're a special couple, and I want to help them out. So if you have donated, thank you very much, sincerely. And if not, please at least share that link. And I appreciate that very much.
so
So,
we also have our website, sponsored by Harneal Media.
yeah,
And that's trampledunderfootpodcast.com. And you can catch our past episodes over there, as well as upcoming episodes and other content by pressing the Wayback Machine. You can check out those past episodes. We go live every Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 Pacific Time. And we also have a YouTube, which we're doing live right now here on YouTube, Trampled Underfoot Podcast. And we also have a Facebook page.
that's right. Facebook.com. Go over there and search for Trampled Underfoot Podcast. Anytime we mention something special, a video that we saw or a picture or something like that, we'll post them over there. Now, a few days ago, we were talking about music. A few days ago, a few weeks ago, we were talking about music that just gets us going and makes us feel good. And we posted a big old long list of songs, and we invited you all to go ahead and post a few of yours. And Jim Dockrell has taken the lead on that. He has posted some straight up bangers. So I'm not going to reveal any. Some of these are bands that were not really well known down here in the States, but straight up bangers over there. I'm not going to reveal any names. Go ahead over to our Facebook page, Trampled Underfoot Podcast on Facebook. Check out some of them links from Jim Dockrell. It's some good stuff.
Awesome. Well, we survived and to tell another, another story. We made it through, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and I just wanted to go on record that last week was the first weekend. We made it almost 2 years without a break.
Mm-hmm.
We made it almost 2 years. I mean, 2 episodes short of 2 years without a break. Oh, it broke my heart. Oh, well. I'm just glad to have you back.
I mean, the circumstances were, it was technical. So what do you?
Yeah. The most technical of technicals, because I mean the computer just absolutely fried. Oh well, we'll go ahead and land the plane. Eloy's already got the recliner activated. Thank you all for joining us. Really appreciate it. Have a good night.